Shalom. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ha, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me this truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing this truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. All right. So I'm going to go in on a quick lesson. And what it is it has to deal with this guy you see on the screen. This is Eleazar of the Hebrew Israelite camp Sakari, right? So just to give a lowdown, I mean, this guy, he's got some knowledge. He's a teacher in Israel, but he's actually a false prophet because of the things that he does makes him a false prophet, you know? Like, he doesn't pay homage, he doesn't pay double honors to the elders, who are the true elders of Israel, not just GMS, but they're the men Yahweh Hashem Yahushai has set up as the leaders of the nation of Israel, right? Through truth and in the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And this guy, he's just constantly doing things to indicate and make himself, a false prophet. For instance, like I said, the double honors. Let me get that real quick, because your elders deserve double honors. Let me get that verse real quick. So here it is. It's 1 Timothy. Let me see if I can get it in a bigger. It's like, let's try this one. Well, that's all right. I'll take that. This is 1 Timothy 5:17. It says, "Let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine." Okay? So you're supposed to give double honors to the elders who have taught you this truth, all right? Because the reason why, let me get that image again, Salakia. The reason why this guy Sakari, the leader of Sakari, who his name is Eleazar, or as our elders can call him, Elazar, right? Anyway, he's not giving these double honors, Instead, he's coming out. He said things like, Elder Apostle Tahar should retire. He should stop teaching and pass the torch to him to be the leader of Israel, And that's a proud spirit, which you don't want to be in a proud spirit. A proud spirit is taking on a spirit of Esau, Edom. Esau is the proud in the Bible. You don't want to be acting proud against the elders, And, he's coming in the spirit of an Edomite, and I'm gonna read the scriptures because there's a story here in the first book of Samuel. In 2 Samuel, that shows you that you're supposed to have reverence for the elders, who, in a sense, they're like the kings of Israel right now, right? Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, King David, those are the kings in the kingdom, but right now our elders that are at the top of the food chain when it comes to this truth. They're the ones who are leading this nation right now, okay? So they are worthy of double honors, and not, you can't be saying, Elder Apostle Tahar should be retire and stop teaching, pass the torch. No, I was in the spirit when the brothers had mentioned, our head brother of our camp had mentioned, hey, Elder Apostle Tahar was sick, right? He had a bad cold. And my thought wasn't like, it's time for him to retire. No, my thought was like, oh man, I got to pray for this elder, hopefully, and pray that he's healed of his cold, not, it's time to pass the torch. That wasn't the mindset I had, right? Let me read this, because I'm going to try and get through. Let's see. I'm going to try and get through it as quickly as possible. And it's really dealing with King Saul and King David right after King Saul died. Right? Let's read it. Now it came to pass after the death of Saul that David was returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, and David had abode 2 days in Ziklag. All right, and Amalekites, that's the chief tribe of Esau Edom, right? That's the wicked that rules the world right now. The Amalekites are those are the fake Jews that speaks of in Revelation 2 and 9. Those are the Jewish, right? So let's keep reading. It came to pass on the 3rd day that, behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul with his clothes rent and earth upon his head. And so it was, when he came to David, that he fell to the earth and did obeisance. And David said unto him, From whence comest thou? And he said unto him, Out of the camp of Israel I am escaped. And David said unto him, How went the matter, I pray thee, tell me. And he answered, That the people are fled from the battle, and many of the people are also fallen and dead. Saul and Jonathan his son are dead also. All right, so this guy, he escaped. He was an Edomite. And he escaped from because Israel was putting it on the Amalekites at the times, who are Edomites, and we were slaughtering him, and this dude actually, he escaped, like it says here. We just read it, but he was also the messenger. He came to bring the message to King David, or he wasn't the king yet, but he came to bring the message to David and say, hey, King Saul and his son Jonathan, they were killed in battle, right? Well, they were killed, because we got to keep reading, because it wasn't necessarily how Saul died. We're about to read how he died. It says, verse 5, And David said unto the young man that told him, How knowest thou that Saul and Jonathan his son be dead? The young man told him that. I said, I happened to chance upon Mount Gilboa. Behold, Saul leaned upon his spear, and lo, the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him. And when he looked behind him, he saw me and called unto me, and I answered, Here I am. So that's what happened. Saul was being in pursuit, right? And let's keep reading. The Amalekites were in pursuit of King Saul, right? And he called unto this Amalekite, this Edomite. He said unto me again, number 8, verse 8. And he said unto me, Who art thou? And I answered him, I am an Amalekite, which is an Edomite. And he said unto me again, Stand, I pray thee, upon me, and slay me, for anguish is come upon me, because my life is yet whole in me. So I stood upon him and slew him, because I was sure that he could not live after he was fallen. And I took the crown that was upon his head and the bracelet that was on his arm, and I have brought them hither unto my Lord. All right? So he's the one who, Saul was wounded, and this Edomite from the tribe of Amalek, he finished Saul off with his sword, right? He fell upon the sword of this Edomite, right? That's how Saul died. 11. Then David took hold on his clothes and rent them, and likewise all the men that were with him. So that's a gesture of mourning and being in sackcloth and ripping your clothes, putting dirt on your head. Those are all things that you would do when you're mourning, And it says, so David and all the men that were with him, they were mourning for Saul. Even though King Saul was he was pursuing David, he hated David, he wanted to kill David, But yet David was so faithful because he knew that was the Lord's anointed to be the king of Israel. So he still had reverence for the king of Israel, who was Saul at the time, a man who was trying to kill him. All right? But you got these wicked ass niggas like Elizeh. He's over here in the spirit of, going against our elders, calling for them to retire. You know, that King David wasn't in that spirit, even though this man Saul was trying to kill him. He didn't have that spirit. See? And you know, this came up in the camp, so that's why through the spirit I'm doing this lesson, you know. So I went to read my Bible and really went right to this. So I said, let me just do the lesson on this, all right? Verse 12, and they mourned and wept and fasted until even for Saul and for Jonathan his son and for the people of the Yahweh and for the house of Israel, because they were fallen by the sword. And David said unto him, he said, whence art... I'm sorry, let me see, where am I at? I lost my spot. Verse 14. Did I read 13? And David said unto the young man that told him, whence art thou? And he answered, I am a son of a stranger, an Amalekite. All right, so he was the Edomite. And David said unto him, how wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thine hand to destroy the Lord's anointed? You see, you should be afraid. You should be afraid to talk bad about the elders, man. You can't. Eleazar here, he is, you know, going against our elders in more ways than one. Talking about pass the torch, retire. You know, the prophets in the scriptures, they prophesied till they were, some of them were well past in their 100. You know. Elder Apostle Tahar is not 100. It's not time for him to retire, man. The Spirit's still on that man. Strong. You know, he's still full of life when you see the Elder Apostle Tahar teach. All right? So he's like, how are you not afraid to put your stretch forth thine hand unto destroy Yahweh's anointed? See, Yahweh anointed Elder Apostle Tahar to be the leader of Israel. So you gotta be in that same spirit. You can't, like David, you can't be talking about you need, you know, go against the elders and not give them double honors and you know, teach things that they don't teach. You know what I'm saying? That's wicked. That's an anointed man, and that's shows the lack of understanding that him being the leader over there of Sakari, but yet he still doesn't understand the Lord's anointed to lead Israel in this truth is Elder Apostle Tahar. You don't want to come in that spirit of that Edomite, like putting him to death, you know. Verse 15, and David called one of the young men and said, go near and fall upon him. And he smote him that he died. And David said unto him, thy blood be upon thy head, for thy mouth hath testified against thee, saying, I have slain Yahweh's anointed. All right? So he thought, that Edomite thought he was bringing a good story as a messenger. He thought he was doing a good deed, right? He's like, I'm going to go give the king the news, or I'm going to give David the news, you know? Instead, hey, how did David look at it? You fucking idiot. Your blood is upon your own head. Your mouth just testified against you. You killed the anointed. See, so that's what Sakari's doing. His mouth is testifying against him when he comes up against our elders, and when he's, you know, talking things like, oh, Elder Apostle Tahar needs to retire and pass me the torch and whatnot. And he's coming in the spirit of that Edomite from the Amalekite. All right. So, you know, I just wanted to do a quick hitter on that, and you know, it was through the Spirit. So with that, I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ha-Rekakwadash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me this truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akim who are pushing this truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to the elect.